You ever just get hit with a wall of data and your brain just kind of shuts down? We see numbers and charts everywhere. But how do we turn all that raw info into a story that actually makes sense? Well, that's exactly what we're going to figure out today. So picture this. You're a professor and you're staring at the scores from your first exam. Just looking at this list of numbers, what does it even tell you? I mean, sure, you can pick out the highest and lowest scores, but the real story, the bigger picture, it's completely lost in all that chaos. And that's the big question, right? How do you take all this mess and turn it into something that's actually useful? How do we find the pattern, the story that's hiding inside all those numbers? Well, lucky for us, there is an answer. It's a really powerful set of tools. So welcome to the world of descriptive statistics. Seriously, think of it like your personal toolkit for cleaning up data and finding the hidden gems inside. Okay, so what exactly is it? It's basically the art and science of organizing and summarizing data. We're not trying to be fortune tellers here, We're just trying to clearly describe the information that's right in front of us. It's all about taking that chaos and giving it some kind of structure, a shape, even a story. All right, let's reach into that toolkit and pull out our first tool. This one's called a stem and leaf plot, and it is fantastic for getting a really fast, kind of intuitive feel for your data, especially if you have a smaller set of numbers. I like to think of it as doing a quick sketch before you start on a big painting. And the idea behind it is just brilliantly simple. You just take a number and you split it in two. The stem is the first part and the leaf is the last digit. So for the number 42, the stem is 4, the leaf is 2. Simple as that, right? And making one is just as easy. Step 1, you split up on your numbers. Step 2, you write down all the stems in a column going from smallest to largest. And then for step 3, you just stick each leaf next to the stem it belongs to. Also in order. That's it. And there you have it, those same exam scores, but now in a stem and leaf plot. All of a sudden, that chaos has a shape, doesn't it? You can see right away that most of the scores are bunched up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And hey, check out the top there. 8 out of 31 students scored a 90 or higher. That's about 26% of the class getting an A. Now that's an insight that was totally invisible before. Okay, so the stem and leaf plot, it's awesome for getting a snapshot. But what if you need to see how something changes over time, or how one thing affects another? Well, for that job, we're going to grab another tool from our kit, the line graph. All right, check out this survey. Researchers asked 40 moms how many times a week they had to remind their teenager to do chores. This table shows us the raw numbers. You can see it all there. But it takes a second to really get what's going on, right? Like, what's the most common number? It's not super obvious. But now, look what happens when we throw it onto a line graph. Boom! The story just pops right out at you. You can immediately see the line peaks at 3 reminders a week. That's the most common answer, and the graph makes it so obvious, in a way that table of numbers just couldn't. All right, so we've got a tool for a quick overview and a tool for tracking trends. But what if you need to compare totally different things? Different groups, different categories? Oh, for that, there is an undisputed champion, the bar graph. Now, the really important thing about a bar graph is that the bars don't touch. They're separated. And that space isn't just to make it look nice, it's actually telling you something important. It's saying, hey, we're comparing separate, distinct things here, like different age groups or products or whatever. Here's a super simple example. It's a survey of Facebook users back in 2011. Just at a glance, you can see that big bar right in the middle, right? That's the 13 to 25-year-olds, making up a whopping 45% of users. The comparison is instant, and that's exactly what a bar graph is for. And it's this power, this ability to compare things so clearly that makes bar graphs so crucial for talking about really complex stuff. I mean, they're absolutely essential if you want to understand big societal trends, especially when you get into topics like economics. Okay, let's look at a more serious one. This graph is from the Congressional Budget Office, and it's showing how after-tax income changed for different groups between 1979 and 2007. And wow, the story here is it's all about contrast. Look at that bar on the far right. That's the top 1%. Their income shot up by 281%. Now compare that to the bar on the far left, the bottom 20%. They saw a 16% increase. The bar graph just makes that difference so visually powerful. Now hold on, let's look at another graph. It covers almost the same time period, but this one is from the US Census Bureau. And notice the key difference. It's measuring real family income. And in this version of the story, the income for that same bottom 20% group actually went down by 7.4%. This is a perfect example of why you always have to look at where the data is coming from. It can totally change the story. When you put these two graphs next to each other, the point becomes crystal clear. They're both bar graphs, they're both showing income changes over roughly the same years. But because they're using different data, one's looking at after-tax income, the other's looking at real family income, they tell two pretty different stories. And that's why it's so important to understand where the numbers are from. It's just as important as being able to read the chart in the first place. So, think about where we started. We went from that totally chaotic list of numbers to seeing how these simple pictures, these graphs, can tell really complex, even conflicting stories about the world. We've officially gone from just raw data to a real narrative. So let's do a quick recap of our new toolkit. You've got the stem and leaf plot for that quick and dirty sketch of your data. You've got the line graph, which is your go-to for tracking how things change over time. And then you've got the bar graph, the absolute master of comparing different categories. 3 simple tools, but man, are they powerful. At the end of the day, what you've got to remember is that every single graph is trying to tell you a story. And the cool part is, you're not just a bystander anymore. You now have the basic tools to actually read them, to interpret them, and to figure out what those stories are for yourself. So I want to leave you with a question. The next time you're scrolling through the news or reading an article and a chart pops up, just stop for a second. Look a little closer. Ask yourself, what story is this graph really telling me? What are you going to uncover?